Back in the good old days, a road trip was an event in itself. As the old saying goes, the journey was more important than the destination. Beautiful countryside, great roads, scenery, lunch at a nice pub, great music, some games, just a great opportunity for a family to spend time together. But that was yesterday. Today, in our brave new world of EVs, we can forget all that because, as the Washington Post explains, the entire journey has to be planned around your idiotic EV and its fragile battery. Want to take a detour to a little town? Nope, no charger there. Want to go up that hill to see the view? Nope, that drains the battery too much. Want to go on a winter trip? Oh, forget that, EVs don't work well in the cold. Hope you're all looking forward to your EV road trip this year. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. Be sure to follow me on the usual socials for more content, links in the description, and please make sure you're subscribed and have enabled all notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos. This is probably the only time in history when we're being forced to accept a replacement for something that is far worse than before. Internal combustion engine cars just do what they're supposed to do without getting in your way. Compare this with the ludicrous notion of an EV which gets in the way all the time. Everything you do in an EV is subservient to the needs of the car itself. Everyone knows this, which is why the lefty publications like the Washington Post, who are pushing this EV and net zero mandates as hard as anyone, try and make it all sound like so much fun to take a road trip in an EV. This is the level of desperation that we've now reached, where we have to brainwash people into thinking that planning your road trip based on the needs of the car is now normal. Madness. 5 tips for a hassle-free EV road trip. With a little planning, you can pull off a summer road trip in an EV without stressing about battery range or finding a charger. Or here's an idea, you could just take your internal combustion engine car and forget all about it. The summer road trip season is here, and with some careful planning, drivers of electric vehicles don't have to be left behind. Road trips are one of the main obstacles for Americans considering buying an EV. Drivers worry about electric cars' battery range and the stress of finding a charger, according to a Washington Post University of Maryland poll. Road trips occupy so much space in the mind of a prospective EV purchaser because people really don't want to get stuck somewhere, said Albert Gore, no relation, executive director of the Zero Emission Transportation Association, an industry group that promotes EVs. Brilliant. The good news is there's a lot more charging out there than people generally realise. If you're an EV driver planning a road trip this summer, Gore says it'll probably be easier than you think, but he has some advice on how to make the trip go as smoothly as possible. So here are the Washington Post's 5 enjoyment-sapping tips for EV road trips. Plan your route around charging. Many EV models now come with built-in navigation systems that can help you find a charging station along the road on the fly. But for the most stress-free trip, it pays to plan your charging stops ahead of time. While US charging infrastructure has been growing steadily, the number of EVs on the road has been growing even faster. That means there's more competition than ever for charging ports, so you won't always be able to plug in at the first charging station you see. Because EV charging takes so long, the number of vehicles that can get through a charging station is a tiny fraction of the number of cars that can get through a fuel station. This will never change. So enjoy planning your drive around where you can charge. Make the most of charging stops. If you plan ahead, you can time your charging stops to line up with meals, bathroom breaks or scenic stops, so that you're not just waiting around while your battery fills up. Gore says he's taken electric vehicles on trips up and down Interstate 95, where there are often fast chargers at service plazas that can recharge most of his battery in less than half an hour. I usually go in and get a bite to eat, use the restroom, grab a cup of coffee, and by the time I come back to my car, it's been 20 minutes and I'm ready to get on the road, he said. Sounds great, right? That approach only works with direct current fast chargers, not level 1 or level 2 chargers that would take several hours to fill a battery. Oh, okay. Well, at least you can stay at a nice hotel, right? Only if they have chargers. Stay in hotels that have EV chargers. If you're within 200 or 300 miles of the place you'll be staying for the night, you may not have to stop to charge at all. Charging apps such as PlugShare and hotel booking websites including Expedia can help you find hotels with chargers, so you can just leave your car plugged in overnight and wake up to a full battery. And of course, in an EV you need to check the weather. including the temperature and the wind direction, because headwinds can significantly affect EV range, unlike with a regular car in which it barely makes any difference at all. Check the weather forecast. Extreme temperatures can seriously limit EV range. In cold weather, batteries lose their efficiency and drivers tend to crank up the heat, a combination that can cut range 41% in temperatures below 20 degrees, according to the AAA. Hot weather can also limit range, although not as much according to Kelley Blue Book. Both extremes can slow down charging. Check the weather forecast before you leave to see if extreme temperatures might affect your trip. If it's hot or cold out, you should precondition your battery before charging, a process that warms or cools the battery to its ideal temperature range and helps it charge faster and last longer. Oh my God. And of course, don't even think about any spirited driving on a nice country road either. You can eke out a few more miles of range by driving more efficiently. That doesn't mean making major changes to the way you drive, according to Gore. It could be as simple as using cruise control to hold a steady speed, taking advantage of regen braking, or putting your car in eco mode, oh that will be fun, which will stretch battery life by limiting acceleration and climate control. Oh great. Wow, such fun an EV road trip would be, right? All of this is completely unnecessary, of course. Trying to force on people EVs that are simply incapable of matching the convenience or practicality of regular cars is doomed to fail. The Washington Post valiantly attempts to make this all look like the new normal and something we should all be embracing, but quite frankly, you'd have to have a screw loose to believe that a road trip in an EV would be anything less than miserable from start to finish.